Feel the love.
Right, does that work?
Hi, we're back. I mean, I'm back. Y'all never left.
Let me
We live here
hide.
now. So,
Oh. Tease ahead. It sticks in your head, doesn't it?
It does. It's really in my head now.
Yeah. We were singing it like the whole train ride home. Well, maybe that will help. That's all I'm going to say. Are you good on all the top stories?
Yeah.
Had you read that? Had you caught up on that TechCrunch Disrupt stuff earlier today?
No, I was working at work.
All the bot related stuff?
Sorry.
No, I just mean because of the bots.
No.
All their things about bots.
Nope.
Well,
Sorry.
that's why we're here. No, I just thought maybe it was. I didn't know if it was the talk of the office.
No.
They're like, no, we don't care. What else we got? Anything break? We got 2 minutes.
No. Don't think
Apple
so.
is offering 10 movies for $10 to celebrate 10 years of iTunes movies. Anything good?
Nobody wants movies on iTunes.
No, I don't. I bought 2 movies to watch on the plane to Italy 2 years ago. I have never watched them.
That's funny.
I have not done that since. Okay, so you go to iTunes.com since... Oh, and then... No, I don't want to have to launch... That's annoying. All right, never mind. Never mind. If you do rent a movie, where do you rent it? No? You just don't bother? You just watch on Netflix?
That's not a thing that we do.
Got it. Okay, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience, not outside organizations. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, September 12th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt, and it is good to be back. Joining me today, Ms. Veronica Belmont. Good to see you again,
Hello.
too.
Hello. How was your trip?
I couldn't hear what you just said. What's going on?
I said, how was your trip?
I don't know why I can't hear you, but I can't hear you. Try it again.
How was your trip?
Ah, there we go. Now I can hear you. My trip was great. It allowed me to screw some things up on my machine here so that I couldn't hear you for the first minute. No, it was really fun. I had a great time. Huge thanks to Roger, yourself, Justin Robert Young, Scott Johnson, Patrick Beja, and all the folks, all the guests who filled in over the past 2 weeks. People barely noticed that I was gone, which is good. That's the way you want it.
Well, you deserve a vacation every once in a while, so we're glad you have it.
Every once in a while, but not again for a while.
Please no.
Yes, exactly. Well, interesting things going on in the world of technology again. Verizon is buying Sensity, a company that installs Internet of Things sensors in LED streetlights to monitor things like traffic and security on a citywide scale. Another one of those elements of Verizon getting into the Internet of Things enterprise business to diversify themselves. Now, here are some more top stories. Samsung will spin off its printer business and then sell it. In other words, they're spinning it off in order to sell it to HP Inc. for $1.05 billion. HP says it intends to, quote, disrupt and reinvent the copier industry. HP says copiers are outdated, complicated machines with dozens of replaceable parts requiring inefficient service and maintenance agreements. And that's why they decided to buy a printer company. They imply that they will fix that. That's their opportunity. Samsung also announced that Vice Chairman J.Y. Lee will be nominated to the Samsung board. Lee is the son of the currently hospitalized Samsung chairman Kun-hee Lee. He has been in the hospital for a while, and the succession plan has been for his son to take over. This is one of the steps along the way there.
Fascinating. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how they think that's going to fix the problem of the copier industry.
Yeah, well, right. If you're curious about it, Samsung will continue to sell its printers under the Samsung name. They'll just source them from HP, so it's going to
Oh.
continue to make printers. HP already makes printers. I am curious what they're going to do for copiers as well. I mean, printer, copier, fax is a thing, right? So, what do we need? As outdated and as correct as HP is, what do we need from copiers? Do we really, is copying a thing that we need as
You know,
we use less paper?
I think in other industries, I think we're kind of special in technology in that we stay on the forefront of this stuff. But I mean, there's still industries that use fax machines,
Yeah, good
and there's
point.
still needs for copiers, and so those things are going to be around with us still for a long while. I feel. I wish they would actually try to fix the ink cartridge industry first before they fix the copier industry, a much larger problem in my estimation.
Yeah, I am 100% with you there.
Facebook head David Marcus spoke at TechCrunch Disrupt today. Among his comments were the announcements that Messenger bots will allow native payments using credit card information stored in Facebook. Another new feature, Web Views, will let bots show web content. Marcus also said bots on Messenger got overhyped, and the first ones to hit the platform were not as good as the native apps they were meant to replace. There are now more than 30,000 bots on the Messenger platform. In a later TechCrunch Disrupt conversation, Twilio co-founder and CEO Jeff Lawson also described bots as overrated and cited news uses as the best implementations so far.
Yeah, he cited the New York Times. I like Quora's implementation of that as well, where you kind of have a conversation with the bot to read the news story, and that is pretty cool. Interesting to see two luminaries in the communications field, in the internet communications field, both trying to play down expectations for bots there.
Well, I think there's, full disclosure, Phil Libin, who I'm about to mention, is an investor in my company as well. But he was recently saying, we kind of hit the, he used a different word for it, but there were like fart apps in the beginning. And so
Right.
like the first bots that have come out have been like the fart bots, like basically developers testing to see what's out there, what they can do with these platforms, what works, what keeps users engaged. And so we're getting over that hurdle now into the bots that are actually useful for things.
Yeah, and neither one of them said bots would continue to be useless forever. They both even said, even though they were kind of not trashing, but kind of saying customer service bots aren't very useful now, they said they eventually will be. It just takes a while for us to get there. I just find it an not odd so much as an interesting phenomenon to see luminaries starting to try to manage expectations for their own industries instead of what has previously been, the solid marketing plan is always overhype, because even if you overhype, at least you've got people talking about you. These guys are like, yeah, sometimes too much hype causes too high of expectations, which leads people to stop using something at the critical time that we need them to be using them, so we can figure out what the best uses are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to mess up a little bit at first to get that out of the way, and then improve from there.
TiVo announced an update to its TiVo Bolt DVR. The Bolt Plus will sell for $499. That's about $200 more expensive than the original Bolt. It can record up to 6 channels at once. The original could only do 4. Has a 3 terabyte hard drive, so 3 times as big as the original, and comes in glossy black. Black being the opposite color of the original, which came in white. While it does 4K, just like the original, it does not do HDR. Neither of them do yet, but that could come in an update to the software, so it's not like you'd have to buy new hardware to get HDR. TiVo Bolt Plus goes on sale Thursday, September 15th. This is now Rovi, the company, has renamed itself TiVo after acquiring TiVo, so this is kind of the first product to come out under the new combined company.
I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah,
when did that happen?
That happened. The acquisition was a couple months ago, and I think it closed last week. So it's been a question of whether Rovi would become a patent holding company, essentially, which is the most valuable thing that either of the merged companies had going into this. Whether it would really switch to take TiVo's guide information and put it squarely in its guide services product, or whether they continue making hardware. Obviously, the Bolt Plus was already in the pipeline, so it would have been a big move for them to kill it. But in a sense, the success of the Bolt and the Bolt Plus are going to be big factors on what the new TiVo does going forward.
Don't you feel like TiVos are just too expensive?
Yes.
Like I still feel like this is a lot of money.
Yeah. That's why on Cord Killers, we often recommend Channel Master, even though I don't use a Channel Master, because it is more affordable and comes with the guide info built in. The thing that makes TiVo so expensive, if it was only $499 for a 3 terabyte 6-channel tuner or $299 for a 4-channel 1 terabyte tuner, that might be okay. I might be able to live with that because then I get my over-the-air box. If the apps were better, it could be perfect, right? Because then I wouldn't have to have a Roku or an Apple TV. I'd have all my apps on there. It does have the apps. They're not great. They're usable. But the fact that I then also have to deal with figuring out, well, can I find a lifetime service box and then I have to pay a lot extra for that, or do I want to continue to pay for service? That's where it really gets you.
Instagram launched a new comment moderation tool for everyone on Monday. The tool was available to business accounts in July, and it adds a hide inappropriate comments switch that, when on, automatically hides comments with words in a default list. Users can add their own custom keywords to block as well, and Instagram will also start showing more personally relevant comments in the preview seen on posts instead of just the 2 most recent.
Yeah. Instagram not the poster child for dealing with harassment the way Twitter has been, or not dealing.
Or not.
Yeah. But something that, you know, was in the news recently was Justin Bieber saying he was quitting Instagram because he's tired of all the hateful comments. And apparently Taylor Swift was testing this out when it was available for businesses. Apparently she is a business.
Oh, yeah.
And she definitely is a business, actually.
Millions upon millions of dollars worth of business, that's for sure.
So good that you can have this. How do you feel about this as a tool? You're relying on their blacklist, but then you can also add your own words.
Yes, I think that's nice to have, although, you know, I can't really think of a situation where users have been using the same words over and over. I mean, unless it's curse words, I don't really need to block curse words. So I don't know what kind of keyword would kind of follow the same patterns over and over. You know, maybe Taylor Swift is tired of hearing about Kanye or something in her comments, and so she blocked the word Kanye. But yeah, I'm sure people will find ways to make it work for them. And frankly, it's better having this than nothing.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Although these kinds of blocking tools always have unintended consequences, and they're never perfect. And the classic example is any chat room you've ever been in that makes it impossible to discuss Alfred Hitchcock, right? Like, it's like, hey, come on, guys. You can't just block any incidents of those 4 letters together. And so, yeah, you can have those unintended consequences where, you know, maybe you block a word that is a synonym for something totally inoffensive, and suddenly people are like, hey, why isn't my comment showing up? And it's because you were using the other sense of the word. It's not the best way to go about it, but it certainly is better than nothing.
Like I said, better than nothing is still okay.
Yeah. Saturday afternoon on my flight back, I was entertained, stunned, surprised, a little fearful that the cabin crew announced the usual guidance on electronic devices. Your phone must be in airplane mode, etc. Laptops must be put away until you're told that it's safe to use them again. Also, they announced that owners of the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 should not charge their phone during the flight and must keep the phone off for the duration of the flight. This goes along with FAA regulations that require those 2 things, plus you cannot check a Samsung Note 7 in your checked baggage. So if you have a Note 7 and you're flying with it, the only way you can fly with it is to carry it on and keep it turned off. Samsung itself told all users Saturday to turn off their phones, whether they were in the air or not, and keep them off. Samsung asked all 2.5 million Note 7 users to turn in the phones as soon as possible, although it's unclear how they're supposed to do that. That communication has been a little fuzzy. Replacements will be available in South Korea, France, and the United States starting September 19th. Other locations are starting to roll out as well. One Reddit user said he was told that defective Note 7s could be remotely deactivated after September 30th. Though Samsung has not confirmed that. Replacements will arrive in Australia September 21st, where safe Note 7s will be marked with a blue S sticker and a small black box on the UPC label, and sales will resume in Australia in October.
I got the same notification on my flight coming back from Portland as well on Virgin America. So it's airline wide now at this point for sure. I've been hearing lots of reports of this happening. What a cluster. Man, this is like a nightmare scenario for them. I can't even, I was actually thinking this morning, like, wow, can you imagine what it must be like to be an employee like in the Samsung main office right now dealing with this? Like, it's got to be an unbelievable nightmare.
Yeah, I absolutely. It's one of those things where it has to be a very serious problem for Samsung to go to these lengths to recall all the products. They're not saying, oh, if you have this battery, replace it as soon as possible. It's at a small risk. They're saying, we really can't identify which batteries are the problem, so we're recalling all of them, and we pretty much want you to keep it off because the risk is that great that it could catch on fire. Now, that risk is still probably fairly small. If you had the Note 7 on, you probably didn't see it turn into a flaming ball in front of you. Most people didn't. But it must be great enough that they don't want to risk it. And certainly the FAA wading in means that it is a serious risk, because one thing you definitely don't want on an airplane is any kind of flame.
Nope.
So, yeah, this is not a small thing for Samsung to overcome. And I've gotten a couple people on Twitter and elsewhere asking, like, do you think they can recover from this? How does Samsung recover from the press nightmare that is every Note 7 out there could explode, and you're recalling all of them? Even once they have the safe ones out there, you know there's going to be instances where people have the safe one and they're on a plane and they're going to be told, nope, you have to keep that off, sir. And so people are not going to want to buy them. People are going to be fearful of them.
Well, at least they've got that $1 billion coming in for their printer.
You think that'll make them feel better?
They got some money coming in the bank.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any guess as like if will this fade away? I mean, my instinct is eventually this will fade away and we'll remember it as I'll remember when all the Note 7s were supposedly catching on fire.
We've been through this before. I mean, there have been other instances of lithium-ion batteries, for example, expanding and catching on fire or getting too hot. Definitely, we've been around this block before, and frankly, I'm kind of surprised it doesn't happen a little more often. Samsung's got a good name brand. They've got fans. I do think they'll get through this. I think this will be it'll be a pretty big blip on the old report card. But at the end of the day, I think it'll be hopefully okay for them.
And the question is, do they disband the Note brand? I mean, is that damaged? I think Samsung is fine. Like you say, they'll get through it. But do they just say, you know what, the Note 8 is now something else? Yeah. Just to distance itself from that name.
From a branding perspective, I think it would probably make a lot of sense to do that. Sunday, Tesla.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. Real quickly, Waffleophagus in the chat room pointed us to an Android Central article where Samsung said that turning off Note 7s remotely is not something the company has stated, and that all official guidance will be published on its website. So they've at least commented on it, although they didn't deny it. They just said that it's not something that's stated, so it's likely not going to happen. And the other thing is, I was just in South Korea at a Samsung Lions baseball game, and I feel like Samsung needs a little cheering up right now. So I recorded this Samsung fight song from the stadium. You should know, Samsung fans are still very happy, at least about your baseball team. There's people in a baseball stadium chanting for Samsung. I don't think people will do that in phone stores, though. All right.
That was so loud I couldn't hear anything you were saying, but I'm sure it was very intelligent, as it usually is. Also intelligent, Sunday, Tesla announced version 8 of its autopilot system. The update changes the priority of the radar system in the car, making it a primary control sensor. Previously, radar was supplemental, requiring the camera system to have a positive object recognition hit before beginning braking. The update will also disable the autopilot feature if a driver repeatedly ignores warnings to keep their hands on the wheel. Tesla CEO Elon Musk believes the update would have saved Josh Brown's life in an accident in May involving the use of autopilot. The over-the-air update is expected to go live in 1 to 2 weeks for all Teslas from 2014 and later.
Yeah.
I found that I have to just preface this by saying I found that comment to be pretty crass and unnecessary. And like when I saw tweets about that the other day about Elon Musk saying this would have saved his life, I get it. I do. It just felt like it didn't sit with me right.
It doesn't sit with me right either. And I think it's because even though this is unfair, your human reaction is, well, then why didn't you have this software update before when it would, it's one thing to say we've improved this and we hope that this could prevent other fatalities, or maybe even like, this could have helped save Josh Brown's life. But saying, oh yeah, this would have saved his life. Like, well, there's something that sits wrong with you, even though technically speaking, all they're saying is, hey, this was misused in our belief in the past, but we think we've improved it to the point that even in that case of misuse, it would have prevented a fatality.
I think the better thing to say, as you mentioned, would have been to say this can prevent accidents like that in the future. We hope, saying something so objectively speaking is like not necessary and not even necessarily true. So it's yucky, but I'm glad it's being fixed.
And it may be true that the story would be about Josh Brown no matter what happens, but making that statement suddenly makes the story about that, when I think rightly the story should be that autopilot has been improved to be even better. The radar is now a primary sensor, so it doesn't have to wait for a camera, which is one of the problems that happened before. And as Musk said, unless something is soft and fluffy in front of you, it's going to be able to detect it now, and it should be able to
still hit kittens and sheep.
Yes, that's exactly. That's not a quote from Musk. But that will be our headline now. Tesla promises to hit kittens and sheep. No, hopefully not. Well, they're solid behind the fluffy. It would have to be fluffy all the way through. Like only the
lumpy space princess.
So
you will definitely hit lumpy space princess.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely. Thanks to all those who participate in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. And I know this was really loud last time, so let's just hear, instead of our normal headline music, a little Samsung cheer. Samsung. You can find our subreddit at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Now, I want to talk a little bit about XOXO, the conference that was happening in Portland this weekend. At the end of every XOXO, it is apparently something they say that it might not come back next year. And this year, Veronica, they said, in fact, it will not return in 2017.
It's the only event I like anymore. That's not true. I still love Dragon Con, but XOXO is the only tech event I like. And
to me, it has the spirit that South by Southwest had like in 2007, right?
Oh, 100%. And if not better. I mean, it is really, the Andes have done a phenomenal job over the past 5 years. I've gone for the last 3 of really curating a very excellent and diverse number of speakers and content to present everything from tabletop games to indie video games to people creating fantastic content or comics or podcasts or unusual websites or memes or just people who have something to say about their process of being creators on the internet. That's who it's primarily geared towards, is people creating things for the net. And it's just been, whether they've brought back people from Spy magazine, they've done. I've spoken. That's not an endorsement of the conference in any way, but yeah, I've spoken in the past. There's been just unbelievable people that I've gotten to meet and talk to throughout the years. Everyone who just wants the internet to be a better, more creative, fun place.
And Casey Newton at The Verge wrote a very fond farewell. It's not that XOXO will never come back. They're saying not for 2017. We don't know after that whether Andy Baio and Andy McMillan would bring it back. But Casey's point was this was the independent web. This is the web that isn't dominated by Google, Facebook. I get so many people writing in about Daily Tech News Show saying, why do you only talk about Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon? It's because those are the dominant companies and they dominate the news cycles. But XOXO was a great example of how you could go and find really interesting things that were from independent, from freelancers, from people just doing it for the love of it.
Yeah, and even the brands that come to sponsor stuff at the conference, like Slack, for example, paid for all the coffee at the event. You didn't see any Slack like logos or representatives speaking about Slack at the event. It just was like, thanks to Slack for the coffee, like in a tiny little bit of lettering underneath the coffee sign. So it felt very indie, and it felt very like under the radar. And I think that's what a lot of people loved about it.
I wonder how often we can have these sorts of things and why they never seem to be able to stick around. I mean, there's that balance between we want to keep it small, because if it gets too big, then it has to be dominated by larger interests to keep it going, or it becomes too many people to handle and you can't really get that community feeling from it. Yeah. I mean, what do you think of that?
I think they intentionally kept it small. I mean, it was about 1,200 people, I believe, at any given time. And they kept it small so you could still have that feeling as though you were meeting pretty much all the people that were there and getting a chance to talk to a lot of different people. You never felt overwhelmed by the crowds or everything going on at one time. And I think that feeling, you don't get that going to CES. You don't get that going to South by anymore. They're just too big. They're too unmanageable. And this brought in a lot of different kinds of voices because you have to apply to go to the event. And they also did sponsorships this year to get people who couldn't necessarily afford to pay the entrance fee. I think it's like $500 for the conference pass, for example, to get a lot more people in who can't afford necessarily to go to tech conferences. And in fact, money was a big subject matter this year. Basically, like, people speaking very frankly about what they make as independent creators and how, it shouldn't be a thing that you're ashamed to talk about, because if you don't know what your value is, then you're not asking for your value, especially when you're a freelancer and you're going out there trying to make work. One of the content creators, for example, was a cartoonist. I'm looking up her name right now. She was amazing. And she spoke very, very frankly about, like, she makes, $23,000 a year sometimes. She's on food stamps. And so even though this was like her most successful year in terms of work, she kickstarted a big campaign for Lucy Bellwood. She kickstarted a huge campaign for her adventure comic. She was successful. She has a publisher. She went on a book tour. All of this stuff that outwardly looked very successful, and yet she still can't afford to feed herself. And just being able to have open, frank conversations about this kind of thing really makes you feel like you're part of a community and that you're not alone in this crazy world sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it gives the ultimate lie to the idea that the internet will keep us from wanting to meet in person, right? Because these are all people who exist on the internet, and they can contact each other on the internet in ways that we never could before. But because they can contact each other on the internet, they then decide to meet in person at something like this. I understand why they are going to take a break. It is a lot of work, and that's why Nerdtacular took a break this year.
Right,
Scott Johnson didn't want to run into the problem that the Andes did, where this has dominated, become a year-round project.
It's their lives, yeah.
And it's one of the reasons Nerdtacular has remained even smaller than XOXO, quite a bit smaller, because once you start letting it get even to 1,200, it became a year-round thing for them.
They what I really appreciate too for a tech conference is that they are, in terms of tech conferences, very diverse. It's about 50-50 men and women, and 20% people who are, considered themselves to be in the minorities. So that's pretty good overall. I think you're not going to see those kinds of statistics for many tech conferences around the country.
Yeah. The only thing that ever bothers me about XOXO is that I never went. It's partly my own fault, but I'll be honest, I was put off by having to apply, mostly because I'm just lazy. I'm like, I don't want to have to audition to go. But you obviously got through that. I mean, you were asked, you went and spoke.
But I went the year before, and I wasn't speaking then.
Yeah.
And then this year, because I was a previous speaker and it was the last year, they let us go again. So I'm sad to see it go, but I hope more things in the spirit of XOXO can kind of pop up and not necessarily take its place, because hopefully it will be back, but have more conferences that are inclusive and can have these kinds of open, frank conversations, and just kind of get some names out of people out there that are making really independent, awesome content.
Yeah. No, there's absolutely a lot to learn from this, and I hope it's not the peak of the bar camp, pod camp, unconference movement that began last decade, but rather sort of the point forward to maybe many types of XOXOs could spring from the fact that now people who want to go next year will start to think, well, wait, what can we do to make something like this happen on our own?
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's get to our message of the day from CP, who says, "How well is ComScore regarded?" They're regarded very well. They have good methodology as far as these kinds of survey organizations go. ComScore is very reliable. CP says, "The reason I ask is that although they headlined the story in July, Pokemon Go captures 55 million mobile users, ranking 13th among all apps. And smartphone apps are now 50% of all U.S. digital media time spent. What struck me was the makeup of the top 15 mobile by visitors, according to ComScore. There were only 2 music streaming apps. Now, this is cross-platform, right? The ComScore does surveys to find out what apps do you use, how often do you use them, and then they extrapolate from there. CP points out Apple Music, and then the one that nobody talks about since it is not cool and moribund, Pandora, were in the top 15. In fact, Pandora has about 10% more visitors than Apple Music. Furthermore, half the apps above Pandora are the click and leave types, so Pandora is probably a top 3 app for user engagement time. Yet when it comes to streaming music, I only hear about Spotify and Songza. Where is the love for Pandora? Being a top app after all these years, they obviously are doing something correct, although this presumes ComScore is legit."
Like, I know people out there are using Pandora. Like, I know that to be true. And yet I still only associate it with like the app that stores and public spaces download so they can have free streaming music and not have to worry about paying rights or paying anything. And once in a while an ad pops up, and that's okay. That's how I think of Pandora still.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because that probably explains a ton of them. By the way, they still have to pay the mechanical royalty to ASCAP BMI, even if they play it in the store.
I guess. Do they? Yeah. Wait, so does Pandora have to pay that, or do the stores have to pay that?
The stores have to pay it because ASCAP BMI people go around to stores and log.
They do. I know. I learned that in college, and I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So they're not getting away with too much, but it's certainly easier than paying for a Spotify or something like that.
Apparently.
And having to curate. And I think that may be the difference in the perception, and why we talk about Pandora less is Spotify. I don't hear people talk about Songza all that much, but Spotify and Apple Music and Songza, these are apps where you create a list. And yeah, there's Discover Weekly, and Apple Music has its own curated playlist as well. But Pandora is not a place where you can even create your own playlist, right? It is radio versus your own personal playlists. So your own personal playlist is where everyone is selling music. That's where you're exposing music. Whereas Pandora is, you have less control. That's a set it and forget it. And so maybe it's just less sexy, or maybe it's all these companies playing it in their stores that drive up the user engagement.
It can't be that much, but that's how I feel it is.
Yeah, ICU points out Songza was swallowed up by Google Music anyway, so it's not even its own independent thing.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, those are interesting facts. Thanks for sending those along. And thank you, Veronica. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I think ComScore is pretty, people generally trust ComScore. So I think they're in good shape.
Yeah, their methodology certainly isn't faultless. Nobody's is, but yeah, they're fairly legit. I usually take an 85% confidence in what they put out there.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Veronica Belmont, for joining us. We will have a brand new Sword and Laser later this week. I know that's been out for a few weeks because I was gone, but we'll be back. Anything else to tell folks about?
Well, no, I have to say it's been under a regular schedule because we recorded many episodes, but then I released them a little bit later. So we're still in the regular 2-week schedule. So it's all good. It's good.
Good. Yep.
Yeah. Things are, Sword and Laser, Growbot's going great. If you're on a Slack team and you want to give your teammates recognition for stuff, let me know. Growbot, growbot.io. Install it and let me know what you think.
Send her a note. How do people get in touch with you if they want to do that?
The usual ways, at Veronica, at TryGrowbot, the usual.
Excellent. Thank you to everyone who supports the show and makes it possible for us to keep doing it without interruption. dailytechnewsshow.com/support, and all the folks at patreon.com/DTNS who support us on an ongoing basis. You guys are the best. That is why we exist. Don't forget the inimitable Mike Range sums up the weekly tech news in a way I personally find hilarious. I hope you do too. The weekly tech views at dailytechnewsshow.com. Go read it and laugh, people. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And you can visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Nice. Good show.
Nice.
All right. Let's see if I remember how to publish this show.
I don't remember.
Roger, you already forgot. Really?
Yeah, I purged it. It's like after you graduate from high school, it's like, I'm never going to use any of this stuff.
Well, you better remember next time I go out. I'm not going to scare you by saying that's anytime soon, because it's not. What should we call this show?
Well, at the top of the heap, and by heap I mean titles, stop passing notes. Get it?
Oh.
Notes on the plane.
On the plane.
XOXO Exodus. Facebook Messenger.
Facebook Messenger is a bot mess. That's funny. I like that one.
Fluffy Logic. Tesla promises to hit kittens and sheep. XOXO over and out. XOXO dis. Get it?
Yeah, I get it.
And then we have printing pressure, chatbots, question mark, forget about it. A bot button issue. Samsung is on the note fly list.
Note fly list.
Oh, that's good.
I like that one too.
My XOXOs, they haunt me. Not sure where that one. Where the,
That's, I can't sing it because I can't sing loudly in here. You can hear me.
I like Samsung is on the note fly list.
Okay.
What do you guys
That's
like?
pretty-
Do you like any of them? I like a bunch of them, actually.
The note fly list is pretty funny.
All right.
Yeah.
Done.
Sorry, Shane.
DR gets it, and I don't mean the Dominican Republic.
Don't you?
All right, kids. All right, you crazy kids.
All right, V,
Okay.
thanks again.
All right, I'll see you later.
Have a good rest of your day.
Bye. Thanks, you too. Bye.
It's ironic because she's the youngest of all the three of us.
Yes. What is ironic again?
Because she said, see you later, kids.
Right. Because she is the
Youngest.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, unless you know something about her age, I
She's
don't.
not a kid, though. That's what I was about. That's what I stopped myself. None of us are kids anymore.
Jen says I act like a kid every once in a while.
That's good. You're young at heart.
Roger, you just can't go around graffitiing things you don't like. It's like, why not? You're not a kid anymore.
Do you do that a lot?
Nah. My graffiti days are long since past gone.
Mm.
Dun, 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 dun.
Now I have the Samsung cheer in my head.
It's taboo to ask a woman's age, which is why I don't ask, Ken.
It's also taboo to tell a woman's age.
Well, I won't tell her. It's there. Problem solved.
I'm not sure you're getting the spirit of this. Okay. Then I take that and I put it there. Oh, right. That doesn't
But is
work.
that kind of a gendered bias kind of social habit? Social etiquette?
Yes, it is. But it's one that people still adhere to.
Why?
I don't know.
It's nuts. I mean, in the age where the sacred is stripped down and deconstructed.
Wow. We're bringing up the sacred? I didn't realize I was going into philosophy class today. The sacred and the profane.
Remember, that was like the first thing you learned in philosophy.
Yep.
Listen, just tell me what I need to know for the test. Well, it's good to have you back, Tom.
Thank you, sir. It's
So
good to
many
be
things
back
I'm not pressing and doing right now.
that you're not worrying about.
I think the biggest worry was putting the thing in the wrong place because they did that. Everyone knows in the chat room. Last week, I always want to say AGR. I always call it the automatic geek radio.
Oh yeah, Alpha Geek Radio.
I pasted the HTML into the WYSIWYG side, the left pane instead of the actual text tab, and so when I put it in there, it didn't do anything, right? Because that's where AGR scrapes the audio when I do it. When I hit DTNS2, it scrapes the YouTube audio.
Right.
But because I put it in the wrong side, it just showed up as like gobbledygook, and it didn't know where to scrape. Isn't that how AGR works?
Wait, what were you pasting in AGR?
No, the template.
What template?
The HTML the HTML template we put in for the show post.
Yeah.
I put it so there's two tabs, right? There's a tab that you're actually supposed to use, and then there's the visual tab.
Right, but that shouldn't affect AGR. That's not where it gets it.
Oh, because it did. As soon as I fixed it, it pulled the audio from the right place.
But we don't even publish that.
Well, all I know is that's what happened, and it seemed to work. Because everyone was telling me, it's like, oh, Roger, it's Friday show. It's Friday show. It's like, no, it should be Tuesday show. And then I realized that I pasted all the HTML
into the WordPress post.
Yeah, in the WordPress, but not.
We don't publish the WordPress post.
I know, and that's what had my head.
And
scratching.
AGR doesn't look at the WordPress post.
It just worked.
Okay, I believe you. I don't know why.
It just worked that way. I don't know what I did. It did something. I don't know. See, this is the thing. I only know the motions. I don't know the reasons why I do the motions.
Yeah, because in that philosophy course, you were just saying, just tell me what's going to be on the test. I don't want to learn to think.
Listen, I've survived this far.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor this point, but I'm really curious why that would have happened. Because those two things are not connected in any way.
Yeah.
The AGR thing that scrapes server-side audio from YouTube just looks at YouTube. It's weird.
Yeah, and it was running fine. I mean, everyone could see the show, but AGR was picking up the previous episode's show. I just did that, and it worked. What do you want me to say? I don't know.
I don't know either. That's weird.
It seemed to work. You know, I knocked 3 times, the man with the ice cream truck shows up at my door.
It works every time.
It's like, whistling keeps the tigers at bay. And you know what? It's working for the past
There's no tigers around here.
See? It works.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
But, Dad, that's specious logic.
Samsung.
I wonder if they give out Samsung prizes, the useful prizes, like, oh, here's a Samsung rice cooker.
I did not. Well, we were in the Doosan Bears Park, not in the Samsung Lions Park.
What do they make?
Doosan?
Aren't they another conglomerate?
Yeah, they are. I don't remember what they make though.
They make their version of the Toto toilet. Doosan.
Oh, I missed those.
Oh, those things are awesome, aren't they?
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder.
The seat warmer alone.
What it tells you is there's been at least 2 or 3 generations of toilet technology that we're totally missing out on.
Yep.
I mean, you can buy it in the U.S., but you have to buy it.
I've seen it in the U.S. Occasionally.
But the heated thing, you need to put in a special heated line for the.
Yeah.
What did he say? Doo-doo jokes? There's no doo-doo jokes in here. Yeesh.
Doosan. Of course, they'd make a toilet. See? Haha. What do they make? They make everything. All of them make everything.
Yeah. That's how they got to where they were, and that's how they can influence politics with so much money.
Heavy industry, engineering and construction. Yeah. They're mostly like building and construction and industrial use. That's why we don't know them. Houses, highways, and bridges. Chemical processing equipment, industrial engines. Not your everyday home stuff. Well, and Samsung, is in a lot of businesses that people don't realize. Not even just the white goods like rice cookers and stuff, but banking and financial stuff, sensors.
Samsung had I think they still do have a pretty big insurance arm.
Yep. I believe you're right about that.
I mean, GM used to make a majority of their cash through their GMAC, through their financing firm when you buy a car.
But that was tied directly to people buying cars, whereas I think the Samsung financial arm is unrelated to their other businesses.
It's just like business insurance and insurance. It's weird because insurance companies are so quick to take your money, but so tight to pay it back out.
That's
I know. It's a joke.
That's the whole idea.
I remember my dad's restaurant burnt. And I was like, you're trying to get money out of the insurance companies, and they kept saying like, well, your restaurant wasn't safe or didn't have the
it wasn't up to code or something.
Yeah, so it's like what is, and he said, what the hell? You guys were here last month to redo, like to re-up my policy, and you just walked through the place. How can it not be up to code since you just signed off on it?
Yeah.
It's like, no. We eventually got the money, but it was like 7 years later.
Pulling teeth. Yeah. I have to say, the most recent time I had to deal with an insurance company was when I scraped my car in a garage, and it was my own fault. I didn't try to pretend like it wasn't. And they were really easy. They came out and they looked at it, and they're like, okay, yeah. They're like, and they said, listen, you can go here's a list of places where you can go where you just go get it fixed, and then we'll pay for it, and it'll raise your rates, but it didn't raise them that much. And it was totally fine.
I have a high deductible. I pay everything out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Which is why if something happens to my car, I'd rather get totaled. So at least I get the total money out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't much. My car's in perfect working condition. I mean, there's some dings on it from the automatic car wash on the roof, but everything else is fine. That car's like worth $3,600, and it only has 75,000 miles. But it's a Toyota; those things run forever.
Yeah,
like Forrest Gump.
I saw lots of Toyota dealerships on my trip.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing but they sell those really. There's a class of car in Japan that's even smaller than a subcompact.
Uh-huh.
They call like a key. They're like a lot narrower,
mm-hmm.
And they're designed. And there are only certain parking spots in the city that you can actually you can park with only those specific cars. But they're really popular. But because of the way regulations work, people just end up buying new cars every 6 or 7 years because of. Some say it's just a thing, government regulation, and people buy more cars. But that means they have all these cars with like less than 60 or 70,000 miles that they just sell overseas. They're perfect working condition. But because they're too old, they won't meet emissions, and people have to buy new cars.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, listening. Good to be back. Glad you're around. And we will talk to you tomorrow.